Hello and welcome to my efficiency guide for openings. I'm going to cover how to find guaranteed and likely openings and teach you when you should go for them. This video should be relevant for most players, whether you're playing for speed or efficiency, going for super high efficiency, or just trying to go over 100%, and is relevant for both flag and no flag players. So let's go. First situation, this is probably the most common trap I see players new to efficiency fall into. So in this situation, if you look at this one here, it looks like it should be a prime candidate for chording, right? It's a 1 next to 6 squares. You know, you flag here, chord all these. It should be an amazing chord, right? Wrong. If you look at this closely, you'll see that actually most or possibly all of these squares can be uncovered with a single click. So look at this yellow dot, right? Every square adjacent to it is not a mine. So this is not a mine, this is not, this is not, this is not. So that means if you think about what numbers are going to be down here, it's going to be a 0, which means clicking it will clear everything next to it for free, as well as likely this last one here, depending on what you have over here. So openings like this are very common, so try to be on the lookout for them in every game, because once you understand what the situation looks like with these openings, it should be as easy to spot these as it would be getting common patterns like 1-2-1s or 1-1s while playing regular Minesweeper. Alright, next situation is a little different. If you look at this one here, you can see that it's next to a mine and 3 open squares, 1, 2, 3. So would this be a good chord to go for? Well, to figure that out, let's look at how likely it is to get an opening if you go for a single click instead of the chord. So if you look at this yellow dot here, this square has some safe spaces around it, like last time, but this time we don't know what these squares are going to be and whether there's going to be an opening. So we have to do some maths to work out what it's going to be. To calculate the probability of there being an opening on the yellow square, we need to know how often both squares touching it will be safe. So we figured that out by taking the mine density of the board that we're playing. So in this case, for expert, it's going to be about 20%. And for intermediate, if you're playing that, it would be 15%. And then converting it how often it's going to be the safe square, and multiplying those together. So for expert, 100% minus 20 is 80, so these are about 80% safe. More specifically, I have the actual numbers as 79.3 blah blah blah. So here this one is touching only 2 squares that could potentially be a mine, 1 and 2. And if both are safe, we would have an opening. So in expert, this probability is about 63% of 80% squared, and then on intermediate it would be even more likely to be an opening at 71%, because there's fewer mines to make it possibly a opening. So thinking about what the best move would be here, our options are either to flag this and chord, or we just click here and hope for the opening. So option 1 is flag and chord here, which would save 1 click over just going here, assuming that there's no opening here. So you'd go, 1, 2 to clear 3 squares, and then that'd be 2 for 3, that'd be minus 1. And the other option is to click here, which, if this is an opening, would clear all these in a single click. So that'd be 1 click in what could be done in 2 if we go flag. So that's 63% of the time that we get that option. So on average, going for the opening is going to be better than going, in this case, going for the chord, because the average efficiency yield is going to be better. So in situations like this, I recommend going for the opening over the chord in almost all situations, except for cases where you're trying to go for really high efficiency, which is most of the time not really worth it. So yeah. So for my final example, we have this one surrounded by a bunch of squares to the right. Is this a good chord to go for? So like last time, we want to know how likely it is to get an opening if we go for the single click rather than a chord. So as it turns out, the odds of getting an opening here are basically 50% for expert. So it's basically a coin flip. On int, the chances of getting an opening are a bit more likely at 60%, so you get more openings for intermediate. So would going for this chord be a good idea? Maybe, at least on expert. If you're going for high efficiency and you go to chord there and hope for the best, you could clear 4 squares with 2 clicks half the time, which is a pretty good payoff if you get lucky. But if you want to play it safe instead, because you want to ensure getting a decent efficiency, like in Arena, I would say going for the opening is better. If you don't get the opening, it's still possible to go for the same chord as I mentioned earlier, but you only clear 3 squares with the 2 click. So you go 1, 2, and 3, which feels bad, but still only losing 1 click to avoid losing the 1 click to a bad chord. So it's still basically about the same as going for the chord. I'd say more often than not, you should go for the opening here rather than the chord. The exception being if you're like trying to go for really high efficiency and you want to take some risks, like if you want to go, 120% over, I'd say. But usually in situations like these as well, there are moves elsewhere on the board that are better to go for. So I'd recommend trying to look for moves like those before committing to trying to get the opening here if that's what you need. So in conclusion, the main thing you want to do when playing for efficiency is look for guaranteed openings, especially near the edge, and being able to identify those. Because if you can know where those are, it'll help a lot if you can snipe those out and not waste clicks chording to them. That's the most important thing I'd say. Then also, when you don't have guaranteed openings, being able to identify where they're likely is very good as well. So if you look towards the edges of the board, be wary of trying to find the openings there more, because you're a lot more likely to find openings near the edge of the boards than you are in the middle. And then I'd say the last thing you want to do with openings is in situations where you have likely openings and other moves that don't lead into likely openings, try to go for chords that are less likely to expose openings and waste your clicks than other moves that may seem better at first, but are on average going to be bad because they're going to lead to openings and potentially waste clicks. So yeah, that's my general advice for playing openings and finding them and sniping them out when playing for efficiency, and also just playing, for regular speed as well. If you are fast enough at recognizing the situations, you can incorporate this advice into playing for speed as well, and should be able to help do stuff like efficiency arenas on Minesweeper.online if you can find all the openings pretty good. Also, playing no flags especially is really good to know your openings, because that's the most important way to save clicks from playing that. So yeah, thanks for watching. I may do more of these if I feel like it, which who knows. But yeah, I think it's a good one to start on. See you guys next time.